好，咁歡迎大家咧睇我哋呢個嘅海外房產線上講座啦。咁其實我哋咧今日想同大家咧就再講下就係澳洲啦。咁其實澳洲咧其實大家都都非常之熟悉啦。咁其實我哋之前嘅直播其實都有講過澳洲唔同嘅城市啊。咁啊，其實我哋今日想同大家咧講下，其實係墨爾本 Melbourne。咁其實點解咧？其實就係可能大家都會知道咧，其實喺11月尾嗰陣時咧，咁喺維多利亞省即係 Victoria 啦，咁其實咧佢就啱啱有一個新嘅政策，就係話佢嗰個即係買樓啦，買新樓嗰個印花稅個 stamp duty 咧，其實就會下降啊，其實就會即係減咗啲。咁我相信咧，其實即係大家都可能都有留意呢個新聞啦。咁其實我哋都即係有見及此，其實我哋都想同大家都講下。咁其實而家 Melbourne，咁其實而家佢即係嗰個有啲咩項目可以介紹俾大家啦。咁我同埋其實Melbourne 其實大家即係都
唔啱香港人住啦，因為其實可能好多時我哋去旅行啊或者移居嘅時候，好多時第一個選擇就會係Sydney 啦，但係其實好多其他嘅城市，好似今日講嘅 Melbourne，其實都係好即係休閒舒適啦。咁其實香港人去居住
係啊，咁同埋咧，其實墨爾本咧都有話係最宜居城市之一啦。咁所以其實我哋都想同大家即係再多啲去講下即係墨爾本咯。咁當然啦，咁我哋即係之前我哋嘅直播其實都有講，但係我哋今次有少少唔同。咁啊，其實咧就係我哋揾到我哋邀請到一個真係香港人，我哋自己人，我哋係移居過去澳洲㗎。咁其實移居過去墨爾本啦。咁其實究竟如果喺即係我哋係即係香港人自己人啦，咁其實究竟覺得墨爾本其實住成點啊？或者其實有咩機遇啊？或者可能係即係其他唔同方方面面啦。咁其實都想同大家再即係了解多啲啦，同埋想知多少少㗎，係啦。
係啊，咁所以今日咧，大家如果有任何問題咧，都歡迎大家喺我哋 Facebook comment box 度留言啦，或者可以私信我哋。另外咧，我哋亦都將今日會同我哋即係分享嘅嘉賓嘅聯絡資料啦，我哋都會即係放咗喺 Facebook comment box。咁所以大家可能如果有一啲更加深入嘅資訊想查詢嘅話咧，除咗可以聯絡我哋之外，亦都可以直接同佢哋聯絡去了解更多嘅。
係啦，咁其實大家可能喺我哋個 comment box pin top 嗰度咧，其實就發覺咧，即係除咗有電話啦，其實亦都會有email 啦，咁其實亦都會有一個網址嘅。咁嗰個網址咧，其實就係咧發展商今日提供俾我哋咧，如果方便大家，其實如果有啲乜嘢疑難咧，其實或者有啲乜嘢嘅 inquiries 咧，其實亦都可以直接話俾佢哋聽咯。咁其實咧，佢哋收到之後咧，其實就會再聯絡翻大家，希望可以幫到大家嘅。係啦。咁所以其實我哋今日想同大家即係就要講即係講下即係墨爾本啦，或者有啲咩項目介紹啦。咁其實呢一樣嘢我哋都即係俾大家做一個參考啊。咁我哋咧即係如果我哋都明白大家有唔同嘅需求啦，或者可能喺預算啊，或者地區啊，或者係唔同即係有唔同任何方面啦。咁其實都會即係提議翻大家會聯絡翻發展商啦，聯絡翻我哋嘉賓啦，或者係就揾專人即係揾專業人士咧，可以尋求一個嘅即係 suggestion 或者係 advice 咯。係啦。係啊，咁我哋其實今日咧就即係我哋都唔講咁多啦，係啦，我哋都想即係我哋快啲邀請我哋係啦，咁邀請我哋嘉賓出嚟先啦。咁啊，首先我哋想邀請就係頭先啱啱講到啦，就係我哋就係香港
移居咗喺墨爾本好耐嘅香港人 Gary。
係啦，咁就係 Gary 啦。Hello Gary。Hello
大家好。
Hello Gary。
你好 Evan，你好 Vanessa。
係 ，hello。咁同大家介紹多少少啦。其實 Gary 咧，其實咧頭先講過係香港人啦。咁其實佢移居咗去墨爾本咧，都超過30年啦。咁啊，其實咧，咁佢而家咧就係
暴露咗我年齡嘅你。
大家都暴露大家年齡，係啦。咁其實咧 ，Gary 咧而家咧就係喺一間即係喺澳洲同埋國際上都好知名嘅即係地產發展商 Ironfish 啦。咁就係地產總監同埋開發總監。咁啊，其實我哋都想借此呢個機會咧，其實都想同阿 Gary 都即係偷下師啊。其實有啲咩即係房產投資 tips 啊，有啲乜嘢嘅即係秘訣啊嗰啲咁嘢。
但係最主要都係想即係了解多啲，身為一個香港人點解即係會去到 Melbourne 啦。咁另外就係住咗咁多年，即係覺得 Melbourne 係一個點樣嘅城市，同埋適唔適合即係香港人去居住。因為其實最近香港人都即係好對移民都有好多即係查詢啦等等。
係啦，即係大家都明白，可能即係尤其是即係呢一年裏面咧，其實大家都好想揾地方，即係揾地方去，
都想改變一下個生活環境啦。
係啦。咁或者首先或者麻煩 Gary 可以同大家即係介紹下自己先啦。係咯，唔該晒 Gary。
首先我有少少驚嘅，聽你哋兩個之後，因為我嚟咗咁多年咧，我啲廣東話冇你哋咁流利㗎， 所以而家大家聽得唔係咁順嘅時候咧，希望大家飽含先，因為你哋香港講嘢係比較快，速度係快少少嘅。
哦，我哋 get 到嘅 Gary，我哋講慢啲，我哋 get 到嘅。
咁你都講咗啦，即係我本身嚟咗澳洲Melbourne 幾廿年住喺度。咁如果 Melbourne 唔係好嘅，根本上我就唔會留喺度啦。所以如果我嚟即係批評墨爾本同其他國家邊度好住啲咧，我覺得係一種 mislead 咯，即係唔係咁準確咯。所以我今日主要嘅原因就係大家同自己即係傾偈咁啦，傾下即係了解多啲澳洲，俾多啲資訊就，因為我覺得嚟到而家咧係好多轉變，有好多轉變，所以希望大家了解多啲咧，咁可以做一個比較明確啲嘅 more informative decision，informed decision 你要做，咁去移民又好，你想去投資又好，主要係呢樣。咁你有冇發覺一樣嘢就係，通常我哋如果去旅遊嘅時候咧，個個國家都好。特別食嘢又好，話見到人又開心又，即係，但係你要去嗰度揾食嘅時候咧，我覺得係兩回事嚟咯。
係啊，生活同旅遊係兩樣嘢嚟嘅，即係個感覺係唔同嘅。感覺
真係唔同啊！所以你最緊一樣嘢就係要適應。如果你一個人可以適應嘅時候咧，你唔理你印度好、日本好，你係可以即係將自己個心態改變，適應個主流社會，咁你就可以喺嗰度生活。即係我覺得呢個係好重要咯，因為我識有啲朋友咧，佢嚟咗澳洲30幾年咧，一句英文都唔識嘅，佢就識 Hello，How are you？Goodbye。所以就係睇下你自己去唔去投入咯，呢個唔緊要。咁講開話墨爾本係咪宜居，適唔適宜香港人過嚟啊？咁先，我覺得。我自己去評又唔係好公平但係我唔知你有冇聽過一個 organisation 佢叫做 EIU， 唔係 ICU EIU Economist Intelligence Unit， 佢哋每年咧有一個globalization livability ranking， 係一個世界宜居最適宜居嘅城市嘅評級啦，可以咁講。咁咧，墨爾本咧係2011年到2018年咧都係攞咗第一，就 most lived city in the world， 唔係1年係7年所以我覺得佢哋評級嘅宗旨咧有好多啦，有你氣温啦，你嘅生活指數啦，例如譬如你嘅教育嘅程度啦、水準啦、人口嘅密度啦、你生活嘅指數，即係好多呢啲嘢加埋佢先可以評到你 number one 噶嘛。咁我覺得從呢樣嘅階段咧，你覺得墨爾本應該係幾宜居嘅咁俾我嚟講咧，第一個我唔知道好多觀眾都有嚟過澳洲應該就會嚟過澳洲又旅遊又好喺呢度移民咗嚟呢度又好，但係俾我嚟澳洲第一個感覺係好強烈。一落機嘅時候咧，就係藍天白雲，同埋深呼吸嘅，即係你空氣係非常非常之清新，呢個我個好深刻印象咯。所以淨係呢樣嘢咧，已經係好高分啦，我覺得。跟住同埋加上你翻屋企開個水喉就可以飲水啦，即係唔使去煲啦，呢個亦都係好方便啦。同埋佢人口密度咧，係相繼其他國家嚟講咧，應該係可以算係世界最低嘅人口密度嚟講，佢差唔多好似係即係如果你睇翻啲做 research 咧，一個人可以佔你2-3個英里咁犀利。如果比香港係即係香港係
我諗大家都心同感受嘅，睇緊而家直播，即係包括我哋而家，即係我同阿 Vanessa 都非常之感受到呢一個嘅即係人口嘅密度咧。你睇我哋坐得幾逼，係啦。
所以我都唔知你點樣整嗰啲 social distancing，好難。
冇㗎，咪有唔出街咯，喺屋企咯，係啊。咁但係有陣時你都知㗎啦，即係你都話即係適應啦，同埋個揾食啦，即係始終揾食都係即係比較重要啦。咁所以其實都即係都身不由己啦，冇辦法。咁其實我都知道，其實聽你咁講啦，其實就係即係墨爾本俾你嘅感覺就係即係其實嗰個感覺係一個好清新啦。咁其實係啦。咁其實亦都好即係我相信亦就係因為呢個好大嘅原因咧，就令到而家即係尤其是呢一年啦，好多人點解會考慮去澳洲咧？其實即係呢個都好大原因，就係即係其實佢除咗佢自己走之外咧，其實佢係即係扶老攜幼嘅，即係可能有啲係即係退休啦，有啲可能係有家庭啦。咁其實家庭嘅話，可能有小朋友
想去嗰邊接受教育啊，
係啊，咁生活啦，咁其實都想即係尋求另外一個嘅生活方式。咁我相信其實即係呢一個就同一個香港咁大嗰個對比啦。咁所以其實就即係令到大家都萌生咗啊，其實不如就澳洲啦，呢一個咁嘅即係去澳洲呢一個地方。咁當然啦，去到澳洲之後，咁當然頭先都話好多城市，咁其實墨爾本就係一個非常之宜居嘅城市。咁所以其實即係其實墨爾本 Gary 想問多啲就係，如果你想當年啦，其實你去到 Melbourne 之後就係呢個咁嘅感覺。咁其實到你啱啱頭先你都提到有其實都有好多即係過去咗咁多年都有好多個轉變啊。其實可唔可以同我講下其實到啱啱你初步啊，定係到而家你覺得墨爾本成個發展係啦，俾大即係俾你嗰個印象係點咧？
人口
係
呢個係最大。今日係一個你又講投資又好，你講住嘅地方好，都係人口係一個好重要嘅因素嚟嘅。係，因為你個地方唔好就冇人去，咁簡單。好似而家你話俾你揀 Melbourne 你 Afghanistan 咁你即係可能你咁你揀邊度？即係人口嘅增長係好快咯。而家係應該接近2500萬，啱啱過咗2500萬。咁就 Melbourne 嚟講咧 ，Melbourne 市Melbourne 嘅 Metropolitan 咧就係接近500萬就係僅次於雪梨。聽佢咁樣講咧，我哋嘅進度應該係喺近幾年間會超過雪梨嘅人口。係即係吸引多好多人去咯，其實就係即係吸引得越多越多人去。澳洲其實一個係好特別嘅國家咯，因為佢好多地理啊、天氣嘅環境都唔同。譬如如果你因個人而異係咪？有啲人比較唔中意咁凍嘅，佢可以上去高 coast。佢唔中意太熱嘅，佢可以去 Tasmania。如果你中意一日地貴嘅，去 Melbourne 啦。所以 Melbourne 嚟講，我覺得係好受歡迎，好受歡迎。咁你講話轉變喺邊度啦？乜就係因為人口增長嘅時候咧，你經濟會發達嘅時候咧，政府咧就收入豐厚咗。政府收入豐厚咗咧，佢就加設好多呢個 amenity 或者 structure 更加多人上入嚟到住。如果你就一聽阿 Grant 會即係介紹多啲呢個 research 咗啲太多嘅 data 就係關於澳洲嘅最近啲咁嘅嘢。有一樣嘢我係最中意嘅，最近聽到嘅就係個 airport link， 因為個 airport link 係佢每一個國家都唔同。你每次去一個地方旅遊，你去如果我喺機場要去市中心要幾耐啊？都係問呢個問題。有啲真係搭2個鐘車，有啲真係又貴。咁而家政府已經係 commit 咗咧去做呢個 city link 呢個 airport link 咧。就會將嗰個市區同埋個機場拉近，咁會多咗遊客，經濟又會蓬勃咗，又會多啲人會移居嚟。係，因為其實我之前都有嚟過即係墨爾本啦。咁我其實咧，即係除咗你話嗰個 City Link 嚟緊會起之外，其實另外一個喺即係墨爾本俾我好大嘅印象，其實就係佢嗰個 Light Rail。咁其實佢嗰個輕鐵咧，其實佢就貫穿晒成個即係市中心啦。咁即係為所有遊客，咁我梗係去 Melbourne 嘅 CBD 啦。咁其實佢有嗰啲即係輕軌咧，其實係非常之方便。其實去四通八達嘅。其實佢直情係某一個區係最中心點嘅 CBD 咧，直情係免費添。即係其實你係免費衝上去咧，咁你就可以去翻即係當然啦，去到某個 area， 你知落車咧就唔使錢嘅。咁當然你要再遠啲，咁梗係要俾錢啦。咁其實呢個係我好大嘅，即係好大嗰個印象就係嗰個方便啊。因為其實即係講真，大家都係即係其實就算即係住到去邊陣時，香港人我哋自己啦，其實住希望方便啦。
即係我做咩都係要方便啦。即係其實唔好話係咪快定係迅速，即係最緊要就係方便就手。咁其實我呢個係我好大，即係嗰個交通方面嗰個方便係好大嘅印象咯。呢個係
冇錯。不過幾方面都好啦，我覺得都係唔夠香港咁犀利啦，即係嗰啲嘢，呢都冇得比較啊，因為你又係人口嘅問題。但係我覺得就係因為澳洲人比較 relax 少少嘅嚇，同埋個 demographic 嘅問題佢大啊嘛，所以佢興建呢啲嘅追同埋嗰個金錢上面係會係仲大咗少少咁。但係如果你compare翻即係冇得比咯，我哋咁多年前嚟，而家嚟緊冇得比，因為本身個城市咁有吸引力咧，而家你依旅行咁先算啦呢樣嘢。依方面咧就係好隨便嘅，我哋唔需要話真係要着 LV 先可以見得人啊！你食咩？而家根本上出嚟嘅時候，你差唔多要揸成個鐘頭車，仲要排隊先可以飲一次。係就好唔習慣嘅嘢。但係而家嚟講咧，東南西北方式嘅菜式最好嘅 Michelin 啊，乜嘢都有好方便去食得到。所以因為你吸引到好多 high-end 嘅 restaurant 過嚟呢度開，人口多咗。話行就好似我哋所講嗰啲交通啊，好方便。同埋根本上 Sydney 嗰度有用呢個 free band 嗰個 loop 咧，你都知啊，你嘅嚟講
係啊，
嘅。好少國家你有搭車唔使錢嘅喎，免費嘅。咁同埋而家佢加咗好多，好似呢啲咁樣令你應該會繼續會發達落去咯。
係啊，咁其實咧，但係我都即係都感受到呢一個唔同。咁其實我都你啱啱講咗嗰個適應呢兩個字，其實係非常之即係我覺得好重要。即係無論你去邊度都好啦，其實即係例如話可能話生活方式咁，始終都係同香港冇得比。咁呢個我哋係明白。咁但係亦都咁講，香港嘅生活方式同埋外國嘅生活方式根本係截然不同，就係因為大家可能而家考慮緊移民嘅朋友，就係因為佢就可能想改變自己而家嘅生活方式，所以先諗住去其他國家，好似澳洲、好似墨爾本咁。咁其實去到一個新嘅地方，咁難道真係要好似跟翻以前係啦，一樣都係要咁我可以咁講啦，要趕頭趕命啦。咁其實去到一個外國新嘅生活，即係無論可能我讀書、我退休、我生活、我做嘢，咁其實就係另一個新嘅模式咯。咁其實呢一個就係呢個可能就係佢哋要去揾嘅，就係我每日都係即係休閒，但我又唔係話我都係有生產力嘅，但係我係可以感受到一個生活同埋我工作可以分開嘅。咁或者可能係一個比較舒適啲我吸啖空氣都大啖啲，即係呢樣嘢，即係嗰個感覺係好唔同咯，係啊。咁同埋都即係聽阿 Gary 咁講，其實你話嗰個即係飲茶，即係其實或者係即係四方八面嘅即係美食都會喺度啦。咁其實我想問多少少，例如話如果我而家諗可能我即係而家好想嚟澳洲啦。咁同埋因為即係始終我哋近排又知道澳洲有個即係嗰個延長咗5年嗰個 visa 嗰個即係放寬咗個新例啦。咁你就更加即係對即係香港朋友嚟移民澳洲係更加大嘅吸引力啊。咁但係可能如果我可能好少嚟澳洲嘅，或者可能始終之前都係旅遊啦，可能都係旅遊景點多。但係如果我真係好想嚟落地生根喺 Melbourne 嘅話，其實有邊啲區其實就係華人比較多，或者可能係其他都係受香港人歡迎多啲。因為其實講真，Gary 本身又係做房地產呢一行生意嘅，咁一定係比較熟悉。咁我都希望睇下麻煩 Gary 可唔可以同大家可以分享多啲香港人，即係以香港人嘅角度嚟講，其實佢哋嚟到墨爾本第一次踏足嚟墨爾本嚟住啦，其實佢哋會揀邊啲區多啲，或者係有啲乜嘢嘅原因，或者有啲乜因素令到佢會揀嗰區咧，或者有啲咩特點？
係，因為即係有時可能移居去到外國啦，咁好似頭先 Evan 講就話，咁當然係想有一個完全截然不同嘅生活方式啦。但係即係生活耐咗，你都會可能會掛住香港嘢食啊，或者你想去下 shopping 啊，或者可能有即係係啦，有啲中式超市都可以方便買。係啊，即係華人超市啊，即係大家即係通常都係買老乾媽啊，買公仔麵、買檸檬茶，即係啦，即係大家都好熟嘅呢啲去到係啦。
點講咧？首先我 go back to 你哋正話所講嘅啦，你哋啲後生女講嘅話，改變生活方式同逃避現實係兩回事嚟嘅。你而家講你改變生活方式咧，有好多人諗，哇！我去到第個國家唔使做都可以嘆世界咁，其實呢個係錯誤嘅點因為唔可以咁樣諗。 首先你要移民去邊度都好，加拿大好，你去澳門好，馬來西亞好，你一定有一個最終嘅目標，你一定係諗遠少少。你唔好話我去嗰度好啊，有得玩乜啊？唔係咁樣，因為你每個地方，如果你唔係努力去工作，經過呢個奮鬥期咧，你根本上你唔會有得到嗰個國家供應俾你嘅嘢，你都享受。
係同意。
但澳洲有一樣好嘅咧，就係咧，如果你係一個好勤力嘅清潔工人咧，你都可以揾錢多過個律師嘅。香港就唔係，所以呢個係好公平嘅國家嚟。你總之你勤力，你總之我成日都同人講啦，你移民嘅目的係乜嘢咧？移民你離鄉別井啊嘛，要 looking for better life， 係咪？你即係唔係話 looking for more enjoyable life？ 呢個人生有3個階段噶嘛，學習、奮鬥、養生，或者你即係有3個階段係咪？你一定要學習先，因為學習周嚟講學習係好 relax。香港2歲就要唱床前明月光，如來地上霜。哇！呢度2歲 ABC 嘅啫嘛。但係你話佢哋係咪即係唔聰明咧？唔叻又，因為你大家全部你個社會文化都係咁嘅時候咧。如果你全班人都係蠢嘅，你就唔係咁噶啦嘛。如果大家都係好聰明嘅時候，你就好 outstanding。因為香港咧係一個特別嘅，所有嚟嘅都係好聰明，係比我哋普通人係，因為佢造成嗰個社會已經造成嘅，你唔係 outstanding 就有。所以點解啲人我就咁講咧？你而家咧係兩咧，我諗最終嘅目的，所以我就喺我講 Ironfish 乜嘢咧，都係呢一樣終極嘅目的，就唔好諗得太近。好啦，答翻你嗰個區分嘅問題，其實呢個唔係好重要咯，唔係好重要，因為你每個人嘅要求唔同啊，同埋佢嘅一定要個經歷啊，同埋你自己本身嘅財政狀況，你明嘛？不如我啱啱買一層樓，我賣咗去，我得翻幾廿萬嘅，我就你想最好嘅係咩？你冇可能啊嘛！但係呢個機會嚟啊嘛，所以你就點都好，你第一件事要嚟到呢個國家先，你唔好離去。我想呢個找機會先嚟到呢度，你咪定居，你住邊度唔緊要，你變遠少少咯。到你有少少成就啲，你咪再退啲咁。但係你話普通而家移民嚟講咧，佢哋應該都有翻想移民，因為你澳洲移民而家越嚟越難，有條件啊，又要你有咩其他條件啊，要你啲咁樣。所以你哋本身有一筆錢咧，都唐人嘅區係有嘅。主要嚟講係去咯。第一，你嚟過澳洲，你可以過啦。但 Box 你有冇去過？你有冇去過？有冇去過 Box Hill？有。Box Hill係好多華人嘅咯。係好得意嘅，啲華人都係會聚居喺嗰度。我話 Vanessa 話齋，我都想出去買啲唐人貨啊，咁樣成方便啲咯。咁 Box Hill係其中一個東區咧，就係好多唐人嘅。就唔知點解，因為每個國家嚟講咧，東區咧似乎好似係比較熱門啲嘅，比西區。通常你想買啲比較好啲嘅屋啊，都係喺東區方面多過西區嘅。通常可能因為分嘅問題，
一來都係咯，因為我知道其實東區嗰邊咧都有個站係 Monash 啦，咁其實就即係都近大學啊，或者可能係即係近 CBD 啊，咁所以其實大家都可能即係可能都會揀嗰啲地方啩，係咯。
係啦。咁除咗 Box Hill 有Waverley 啦，都有好多唐人聚居。另外就好得意嘅，即係佢都有分華人都有分嘅，譬如台灣人咁去東城嘅一個區叫Balwyn，因為Balwyn有好多私校啊嘛，佢哋早期就係嗰啲定居喺嗰個區。咁跟住就 Doncaster 好幾個區咯，都係呢個華人。所以你話食嘢方面啊嗰啲，你唔係擔心。好似而家海地都係嘅。其實呢度就同香港除咗間變，要 其他食嘢係比較先進嘅邊位，應該冇問題。
係。
頭先都見到其實個 project video 啦，即係都見到哇珍珠奶茶、日式啊、台式啊、
餃子啊，
乜都有。
係啊。
嗰個咧，阿關陣間會遲啲會講俾你聽，就係而家好興咧，就係啲項目咧係做成一個社區形式嘅項目。咁因為始終都係買呢啲公寓嘅咧，華人佔多，因為佢哋好似你喺香港嚟，你住公寓，有人係中意住公寓，所以你有啲人買公寓好定係買唔好，都係因人而異嘅。有啲人唔中意剪草嘅係咪？有啲人未剪過草，佢中意去買啲嘢剪草，但係剪咗幾年佢唔中意剪㗎啦，有份公寓。所以你唔可以將公寓好定係屋好未必嘅，因為公寓有公寓嘅高級公寓㗎嘛。你普通有啲好殘舊嘅屋㗎嘛，所以你正話 Vanessa 嗰樣嘢話睇嗰 video 咧，其實好多嘅關會介紹俾你睇就非常針對係華人居住嘅地方。
係。咁其實我講翻轉頭啦，咁其實咧啱啱都話其實 Gary 咧，即係其實即係移居咗嚟 Melbourne 之後咧，其實就投身咗地產行業啦。咁其實我想問下，其實啱啱講咗話 Ironfish 啦，咁其實 Ironfish 其實可能即係有啲朋友會聽過，有啲朋友可能就未必認識啦。咁可以介唔介意同我講下，其實 Ironfish 其實究竟即係除咗房地產啦，咁其實有啲咩提供啲乜嘢服務嘅咧
？OK， 多謝你問呢個問題先。你睇到 Ironfish 我哋嘅 slogan 就係 Together in Properties 咯，所以好多人唔係太清楚 Ironfish 咧，佢哋就以為我哋係一個traditional 即係普通嘅房地產中介啦。房地產中介啊嘛，就係買賣咯。如果你想買嘅，佢就話俾你，而家係啱時候買咯。你想買嘅時候，而家就啱時間買咯。所以呢個係佢哋可以模棱兩可。但我哋咧最終嘅，我哋係服務咧，就係幫助我哋啲客人去建立一個好平均嘅房地產投資嘅組合。呢個咧其實係非常之重要，同埋加上咧係好現實嘅喺澳洲嚟，因為我陣間會再解釋多啲係點樣去做呢樣嘢。我啲客人好簡單，就係盡快可以咧買到四間房地產一個組合，咁樣咧你將來咧你就算 retire 咗或者係即係到你冇能力有 income 嘅時候，你就可以有呢個所謂被動。你有冇聽過被動收入啊？係好多人冇重視呢樣嘢，就係俾時間咁留咗去咧。被動收入係要累積你資產嗰度落去，所以你冇咗個被動收入嘅時候咧，你將來咧係要靠人，就係咁簡單，要靠人。所以如果你話喺澳洲買4個房地產咧，唔係咁困難。喺香港，如果你同人講喂，你買4間樓啊！哇！你估我係劉德華咩？即係啲人覺得好似你明星，你先可以做到呢樣嘢咯。其實唔係咁困難嘅。即係講落咧，我又可以解釋俾你聽係點解唔係，因為需要好多制度咧，佢係幫你去做呢樣。你淨係睇呢個 LVR 即係我哋叫 LVR 嘅value ratio 啦。我諗香港係叫 LTV，value to ratio，LTV 係咪叫 LTV 啊？
唔係太。
你話 long value ratio， 咁就意思就係我哋呢度咧可以做到80%，但係香港而家佢個制度咧係非常之嚴格嘅，佢呢個係核地炒樓咯，呢樣嘢香港人好興噶嘛，我哋即係今日買出年賣嗰啲咁啦。而家佢做咗呢啲咧，就防止你係做呢樣嘢咯。但係澳洲係政府有好多嘢係做出嚟係幫助你啲人入籍。好似而家你講嘅 stamp duty saving 佢係 stimulate 將呢個刺激個經濟噶嘛，幫助省錢啊。所以主要嚟講，即係答你個問題咧，我哋公司除咗幫你去建立呢個平衡嘅呢組合之外咧，我哋係會有貸款嘅，我哋亦都會有commercial 嘅，即係譬如如果你買咗好多嘅私人嘅屋宇啦，你想買一啲商業嘅，我哋如果你話仲有我哋會有property management 啦，可以我哋或者譬如喺外國喺香港話咁，我夾硬買樓，買咗之後你點樣去租出去俾人，我就會有一個 management 幫你處理。
即係其實主要咧，即係聽你咁講啦，其實 Ironfish 咧，其實即係唔單止係一個嘅即係地產係啦，咁亦都係即係幫人哋去即係嗰個即係資產配置啦，亦都教你可能同你即係俾啲 advice 啊，其實你咁投資會好啲。即係啱啱其實 Gary 都同我哋講咗4間。即係
唔係咁難嘅啫，
係啦，唔係咁難，係啦。咁其實咁如果聽你咁講，其實即係除咗資產配置之外，咁當然啦，都係主要圍繞翻即係4間或者可能係房地產項目啦。係啦，
除咗即係自己住啦、自住項目之外，其實商業嘅項目佢哋都會有啦。咁同埋另外就係更加好似而家疫情啦，大家飛唔到去澳洲，有時都會話想飛下過去睇下自己間屋住俾啲人住成點啊。但係而家飛唔到咧都唔緊要，因為佢哋都有一啲即係管理嘅服務，物業
管理啦，係咯。咁其實一睇即係講咗咁多都係管理啊或者嗰啲服務，咁其實會冇即係自己開發個項目咧？即係其實如果以一個即係地產嘅即係咁大間咁公司嘅話，相信都應該會有涉獵一啲即係地產開發個項目，即係屬於即係你哋自己即係起出嚟嘅項目，係啦。
呢個問題都問得好好，點解？因為我哋需求嘅問題咧，我哋本身係我哋本身裏邊有好多職員啦，好似居委嗰樣啦，我哋好多 member 嘅。咁我哋喺2013年就建立咗 IFD，which Balwyn。咁我哋而家首先都有幾個中型嘅項目啦。首先第一個就係我哋同你所講嘅喺博銷嗰度咧起咗2棟我哋叫馬大廈啦，咁樣叫大概有一間公寓，有100間酒店。嗰陣係2017入伙嘅，而家已經全部入晒伙㗎啦。佢嗰兩啱啱起正呢個博銷 shopping 隔離嘅 Vanessa。如果你嗰邊呢度住咧，帶你過去睇下，一行落去就可以買到online貨㗎啦，方便㗎。同埋我哋起嗰啲大廈咧，通常係 self-sufficient，即係佢頂會有泳池啦，有運動場啦，有即係所有你需要嘅嘢喺本身嗰個樓宇裏邊已經有。另外我哋就喺城市側邊嗰度咧，亦都起咗2個 Melbourne Village。Melbourne
Village 係
Melbourne Village。Melbourne Village 就差唔多喺個市區隔一條街咁啊 ，CBD 隔一條街咁。咁嗰個都係咯，嗰個都係入咗貨啦，係2017。
即係聽 Gary 咁講，即係其實 Ironfish 咧，即係其實係一個即係非常之多嘅，即係嗰個行業嘅板，即係佢嗰個服務板塊都有好多。咁首先聽係即係資產配置啦，即係如何去投資啦，或者係即係有啲嘅諮詢服務啦。咁即係就物業管理啦，即係租賣啊都有啦。咁啊另外咧就會係嗰個即係項目開發，咁實情即係起埋樓添啦，即係有埋項目可以即係賣俾大家。咁其實即係呢一個我哋都即係聽到就係我到其實即係 Ironfish 咁大間公司啦，咁其實我都好即係好大嘅，即係好 impressive 啊！就係其實佢好似即係咩都有做，即係其實除咗住宅之外啦、商業啦，或者係其他即係唔同種類嘅項目，其實都有涉獵啊。
即係可以做大家顧問啦，或者好似頭先Gary 咁講啦，即係可能你一去到嘅時候，你會住 apartment 先，即係可能熟習咗個環境啦。因為我哋可能去之前，其實 可能淨係知道Melbourne 市中心，但係其實仲有好多其他頭先介紹過嘅
博超啊、
城市，
Doncaster
我哋都係唔熟悉嘅，咁都係需要你時間去融入，去到再住耐啲，先會再認識多啲究竟邊一個地區可能係，如果係退休嘅，可能就想休閒啲，但係如果係即係帶住小朋友或者一家人過去，佢亦要工作嘅，咁究竟可能住邊個地區先係更加適合自己或者方便翻工啊、翻學啊等等。
係咁，其實咧，即係其實另外都即係比較即係深印象就係嗰4層樓係啦，即係一個我諗相信即係大家即係除咗即係我覺得都係即係 Ironfish 其實做咗咁多年嘅即係咁多嘅行業嘅板塊啦，即係咁多服務嘅板塊啦，其實亦都可以得出一個結論，就係或者 Gary 都俾我哋 tips，就係其實如果即係當然啦，後生嘅過嚟咁當然梗係要適應啦，努力適應咁啊過嚟即係努力工作生活啦。咁啊當然啦，咁去到可能年紀大啲啦，咁啊如何可以確保一個被動嘅收入咧？頭先啱啱Gary 都有講咗好重點啊呢個。咁啊其實起碼即係可能透過咁多一個行業板塊得出嚟所有嘅數據或者得出嚟嘅咁多年嘅經驗就原來就係起碼嗱。如果你即係三至四間，咁你就OK啦，即係即係起碼你嘅即係就有一個比較穩定啲嘅被動收入咯。咁其實我哋都朝住呢個目標，去發展都唔係咁難嘅啫。
可能 Gary 都有講就話，其實澳洲啊或者 Melbourne 都係一個即係好公平嘅地方啦。只要你勤力啦，同埋即係最主要既然去到一個新地方，都希望即係可能可以充實自己啊，即係揾一個即係啱自己嘅工作生活，有個 set 好個目標，點樣可能之後去投資啊，跟住就可以達成4層樓嗰個
都唔係好難嘅啫。我
頭先 Gary
係最低嘅標準嚟。
最低嘅標準
佢講嘅終極目標
係啦，終極目標明白。咁我相信咧，其實大家咧即係聽呢個嘅直播，其實都突然間都諗下因為其實大家都係諗被動收入呢啲咁即係咁大嘅詞咧，其實聽得好多，或者可能係一啲 recurring income 啊，或者可能就包租婆啊、硬腳唔使憂，或者類似呢啲，但係其實到最後其實可能就有冇一個實質嘅方法，就係話其實我要做到咩一個程度，就起碼一個係叫穩定咧。啱 Gary 同我哋講咗啦，就係啦，真係非常多謝 Gary。咁其實我知道咧，其實嚟緊咧，其實一陣即係當然啦，我哋呢個直播其實都有個項目介紹俾大家。咁其實咧呢一個其實呢個我都知道，其實啱就喺 Boss Hill 啦，或者 Doncaster 附近嘅。咁其實呢一個嘅即係呢一個嘅地點啦，呢個項目嘅地區咧就係叫 Burwood 啦。咁其實嚟緊咧，其實即係其實Gary 嘅同事Grant 咧，其實嚟緊都會同我哋去講多少少關於即係可能而家澳洲而家一個嘅喺呢一年裏邊嗰個數據啦、房產嗰個 trend 啦，係啦，市場啦，同埋究竟個項目究竟係點咧？咁我哋即係呢個就我哋首先感謝係啦，
多謝
感謝 Gary 先，
分享，轉頭再繼續傾。
係，轉頭再繼續傾。好，唔該晒 Gary。好，拜拜，係啦。咁其實啱啱佢講咗啦，咁啊其實我哋嚟緊呢一個項目咧，其實就係喺 Burwood 嘅。咁其實咧，我有少少即係感觸係，即係都唔係感觸嘅，即係有少少共鳴，就係因為我本身之前住 Sydney 嘅，咁 Sydney 都有個 suburb 叫 Burwood。咁啱因為我接觸呢個即係要即係做為呢個直播做少少功課啦。咁其實呢一個項目都係都喺 Burwood 呢個地方度，所以我就好深印象啊！呢個係啦，喺 Melbourne 嘅 Burwood 究竟佢個項目係點咧？咁我哋而家咧嚟緊咧，我哋就邀請啱啱係啦 Ironfish 嘅另一位代表上嚟，就同我哋去介紹下就係Grant啦，係啦。
Hi Grant。
Hi Grant。
你好嘛 ？Hello。
Hi。Yeah, thank you. We just talked about Grant is going to introduce us some market outlook and the project showcase in Burwood. And I just mentioned to the audience that because I've been living in Sydney for several years, and I know that there's a suburb in Sydney also called Burwood. And today for the project is also in Burwood. So it's quite impressive.
Melbourne.
But Melbourne Burwood, yeah, that's right. Yep. And first of all, so we just pass the time to you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, look, no problem. Look, I appreciate that. Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a great afternoon. It's a little later here in Sydney. I know Gary's in Melbourne. I head up all of our research and property throughout Ironfish. And so what I wanted to do is to give you guys a really punchy 10-minute summary of where the Melbourne market is at. So I'm going to pull up a few slides on my screen, and then I'm going to go through and focus a little bit on that, specifically this Burwood Brickworks project. So I'm just going to pull up my slides. I'll just get you guys just to confirm that you can see that. Can you see the slides on the screen?
Yes.
Yes. All right. We're already going well. All right. So, look, I want to talk about, as I mentioned, two things, but I want to give a little bit of a Melbourne property market snapshot. I mean, what better thing to do when you're sitting there on a Sunday afternoon? How do you understand what's going on? And I'm not going to talk about everything. I'm going to talk about a few of the most important things, and particularly for someone, if you're there sitting at home in Hong Kong, and you're sitting over there, you're not in Melbourne, you don't really know what the market's like. You don't really probably know what it's like being this year with coronavirus. So I know Gary has obviously shared a lot of thoughts with you guys, but I want to talk a little bit about the market. And the reason why I've got this slide with this amazing picture of a tunnel, by the way, is because there's a bit of an X factor, not only about Melbourne. When I come to talk about the Burwood area, Burwood in Melbourne, not in Sydney, there is an amazing transport project, a $50 billion new suburban rail loop that is going to be constructed over the next 10 years. And that is going to have a direct impact with Burwood. And I'll talk about that later on. That's just something extra special that you may not have known about. But let's talk about the market first of all. The first thing is, look, it hit us here in Australia and pretty evenly across Australia, but predominantly in Sydney and Melbourne were a little bit hit harder. But what we had was obviously some unemployment, or temporary unemployment, if you like. But the key point is that in October, I haven't even included November, but basically 75% of all those jobs have been recovered. And what was really interesting was in October, there were 180,000 new jobs, not dollars, created. And even more interesting is when Victoria was in this lockdown that it had, a very, very harsh lockdown, even during that period, 80,000 new jobs were created. And so I want you to think about that when you're, wherever you are. What does that mean for the property market? You would think, my goodness, what's happening? But I can tell you, life is pretty normal all around Australia right now. But apart from the Melbourne lockdown, even in spite of that, consumer confidence has soared. I'm not sure if you can see on this graph, but it literally dropped and then it has rebounded. Talk about a V-shaped recovery. This is the steepest V that I've ever seen, when it's literally rebounded back. And it's at its highest point in years, consumer confidence. And that can be seen in the property markets. I'll just read you out one little comment here. This is just literally yesterday. Saturdays are the big auction days in Australia. And in Melbourne, for example, what they're saying is a lot of potential buyers are feeling remorseful. They missed out when the markets were weaker early in the year. With low interest rates and everything, we've got owner-occupiers. It's not just investors, everyone. It's actually, this market at the moment is led by owner-occupiers and first home buyers. And for the last 4 months, the volume of investor lending has increased month on month. So there is big competition coming. On a general economy front, though, the head of our CBA bank, the largest bank in Australia, Matt Coman, said the speed of the recovery, this is economically with the whole of Australia, it's been faster than we'd anticipated and a whole lot better than we'd feared. We were previously forecasting 2.75% GDP growth in 2021. Now that's 4.5%. You're looking at it literally doubling. And I think you're going to see a lot more in the press about this if you're following this issue. But the economy has bounced back strongly. Now, I wanted to mention something, particularly for an overseas audience. I wanted to give you a bit of a perspective about Australia, because there's a lot of talk about international migration and the impact, because a lot of that has obviously stopped. But let's just have a look at the facts. The first one is that before COVID, roughly 10,000 people each week were arriving from overseas. However, we had about 6,000 people leaving Australia each week. Australians going overseas to work or live or whatever. And so the net overseas migration intake was about 4,000 per week, which is around 200,000. But I want you to think about this. Despite what has been going on this year and that tap has been turned off, Australia, through this whole process, is now actually the envy of many people because of the way that it's been able to contain these results, along with New Zealand, where I was born in New Zealand. I've lived in Australia for 25 years. But, you know, Australia and New Zealand have globally increased the value of their brand. Even more people, we believe, are going to want post-COVID to come to Australia, to live in Australia. This has really increased the appeal. And so what I want you to think about is there's 1 million expats, in other words, people that are Australians living overseas. And Michael Matusik in his commentary here was saying, I do wonder how many expats are now lining up to return. I'd also like to muse how many people are truly now looking to leave. What his point he's making is we're now going to see, we believe, less people leaving each year and at the same time, more people coming back. So once we get past this particular temporary period of when international migration has pretty much stopped, beyond 2022, we believe there could be an absolute boom in overseas arrivals. So you've got to understand the data. Don't just look at those net immigration sort of numbers. Now, when we talk about the property market, I want to punch through this really quickly because it is really a straightforward thing to understand. We've got confidence is high. It is booming. And not surprisingly, there's a particular research index called the Time to Buy a Dwelling Index. In other words, what do most people think? If you interview 1,000 people, what would they think? Do they think it's a good time or not a good time to buy a property? Well, that reached 8%, which is a huge increase. But more importantly, it is the highest rating for buying a dwelling since November 2013. Now, this is really extraordinary. Now, a lot of it has to do with low interest rates, but it's also got to do with that economic rebound that we pointed about. Now, in Melbourne, literally yesterday, an auction clearance rate of 74%. The Sydney and Melbourne markets are very, very triggered and can be easily measured by auction rates and what's happening. And yes, it took a dip, particularly through obviously the lockdown sort of period, but it has bounced back incredibly strongly, and it's hovering at about that sort of 75% mark. And what that means, it means that most properties that come to market are selling, but it's not just they're selling. What we're actually seeing is we're seeing more and more people out there, more buyers than there are sellers. Now, this is a real concern because what we're seeing competition and we're seeing prices increase. And this is the reason why I just read that little quote from today's Australian Financial Review article about the property market yesterday, because what they're saying is that there's not enough properties to meet the demand. Now, that growing demand is obviously, if you're an investor, something that you obviously want to get in early on. And how is that measured? We can see that things like days on market. How many days does a property take to sell? We go back to October, just over 12 months, 13 months ago, 14 months ago, it was averaging 34 days. Now that's a pretty strong market. But what happened is through obviously coronavirus and March and everything, it ballooned out during the height of the lockdown to 74 days. But look how quickly it has snapped back, 25 days. In October 2020, 12 months. And despite the coronavirus, it's now 25 days. Now, this is like, it's 33% faster than it was a year ago. Now, this is really, really worrying signs if you're someone in the market and you're not really taking it seriously. Because as we know, President of the Real Estate Institute of Victoria, days on market is a strong indicator of buyers' desire. Competition between buyers is heating up and people aren't waiting to purchase the property they want. So here you are on a Sunday afternoon looking at your phone or your tablet or your laptop or whatever it is that you're watching this live stream on. And what I've got to tell you is that there's a lot of people are out there. They're not just shopping around. It's not window shopping anymore. You've got a lot of serious buyers there. What did that look like in the market in November? Well, in November, Melbourne units went up by 0.7% and houses went up by 0.6%. Units more than houses, really interesting. But what's most important about these stats was that this is a turning point for the Melbourne market. And it's the first monthly growth since April. And what's really important about that when you have a look at all of that is how that flows into future growth. So if you're out there and even considering investing or purchasing a property in the Melbourne market, all of the data is now telling you, market experts, banks, everyone is telling you the next 12 months the market is going to grow. So if you wait, you pay more. Now, how does that look like? We'll have a look. Three of the biggest banks, obviously besides CBA, but these are the other three of the big four. When we look at Melbourne in 2021, ANZ has now said it's going to grow by 7.8%. Now, ladies and gentlemen, 2021 is not that far away. It's basically, 25 days away, and then we're in 2021. So we're looking at pretty strong growth, just under 8%, according to ANZ. NAB are at 9%, and they're going out to 20, including a little bit of 2022 as well. And then Westpac are at 12%. Now, when you have a look at all those stats, they're pretty alarming, because what that basically means is it means you're going to pay, if you pay another 7 or 8% on top of the price of the property you pay today, I mean, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to everyone, whether you're an owner-occupier or an investor, it's a lot of money. But if that wasn't enough, we've already got this incredibly hot market. It's come out of lockdown and it's literally exploded out of the blocks. And then the state government, the Victorian state government, has literally poured some gasoline on the fire, if you like, by now announcing a new incentive for all buyers, whether you're an investor or an owner-occupier, wherever you are, and it affects all property, whether it's new property or existing property. However, it does definitely favour new property. Anyone buying new property, and obviously if you're a foreign investor, you really are restricted mainly to buying new property. So this is a real benefit to you. 50% stamp duty discount on prices of properties up to $1 million. And I mean, that's a huge discount. They've also allowed it to apply, but at a lesser amount on existing properties, 25% stamp duty discount. So stamp duty is the normal amount that you pay, all buyers have to pay in Australia. There's obviously some surcharges for foreign investors, but this is for the amount that everyone pays. And so obviously having that reduced by 50% is huge. I mean, look at that, up to $27,500. And particularly if you're buying off the plan, for example, if it's new property, you get the time benefit of that too. Imagine the market goes up 8%, 2021, pretty interesting stuff. So what we have is confidence at basically an all-time high, or certainly a high for many, many years. We've got incredibly low interest rates. You've got heaps of competition between investors, first home buyers and owner-occupiers, particularly in that price point of that sort of $400,000 to $800,000 band. That's a sweet spot. We've got the market predicted to go up by 7 or 8% in 2021. And we've then got in Victoria, they've got these additional incentives that benefit anyone buying new property. And that leads us, ladies and gentlemen, directly onto me talking about a specific opportunity in Melbourne. But before we do, I believe the lovely ladies just may have wanted to summarise a few key points or have a chat to you, because unfortunately my Cantonese, ladies and gentlemen, is not very good.
Oh, your Cantonese is good. 你好嗎？
Hey, I started off at least saying hello. I made an effort.
係啱啱阿 Grant 咧，其實同我哋分享咗非常之多嘅重點啦。咁啊，其實咧大家都知道，可能即係過去而家呢一年，其實 COVID-19 其實即係對好多嘅國家都有影響。咁其實可能有朋友都會留意即係 Melbourne 嘅新聞啦。其實就係可能其實佢都封城咗，即係都過一段時間啊，或者宵禁啊，或者係點啊，即係出唔到街啊嗰啲咁嘅嘢。咁啊，但係其實咧阿 Grant 俾我哋嗰啲 data 咧，其實都會睇到其實一個係一個 strong market 嚟嘅，即係雖則有而家呢一個咁嘅情況，但係其實咧有好多嘅即係當地有好多嗰啲即係嘅分析師啦，其實佢話即係出年個 GDP 其實可能就2點幾啦，但係其實原來即係嗰個 strong market 就唔係去到已經其實原來真正係到4點幾啦已經個 GDP。咁啊，所以其實即係大家都會見到呢一個嗰個即係嗰個市場係回復得好快。咁同埋另外一個咧就係原來之前可能即係嗰個售賣期啦 on the market 其實可能幾十日啦。咁啊，但係其實可能9月都可能就70幾日。咁但係其實去到10月就已經係佢變翻到20幾日就係啦，係 on the market。
同埋頭先都有講就係話，因為佢哋即係可能之前一路封城啦，咁由4月去到最近啱啱過去嘅11月啦，咁就第一次即係再重新個房產嗰個買賣就再次去上升。
係啊，咁同埋另一個 Grant 亦都即係講咗一個就係 gasoline on the fire。咁其實就係咧，咁就係嗰個即係個政府就係再幫多少少啦。其實就係一個就啱啱我哋喺即係直播嘅開頭就係講話，究竟喺 Victoria State 裏邊究竟嗰個 stamp duty究竟係減到落去咩咧？原來就50%，但係其實亦都唔單止係新樓啦，咁或者可能即係香港有朋友而家係即係可能都本身都澳洲人啦，咁其實佢即係喺二手嘅都係有減咗25%嘅 existing 嘅話，咁但係其實我諗相信即係對於買即係想移民嘅朋友，我哋因為即係移民即係海外人士啦，買澳洲樓其實一定係要買新新樓㗎，係啦。咁其實佢個 stamp duty 其實係減咗一半嘅話，其實真係多咗好多優惠。係啊。咁所以其實我哋都知道，即係透過阿 Grant 呢一個 presentation， 我哋知道哇， 其實嗰個即係 Melbourne 嗰個就冇我哋諗得咁嚴重啦，即係幾時會升翻嗰啲其實唔係嘅。其實 Grant 頭先都講係就喺即係
而家就係其實
係啦
best time to buy
係啦 best time to buy 同埋即係2021 2021其實都係一個即係一個係會回復翻係 growing 嘅，即係 growing 嗰個 market 咯。係啦，咁其實我哋嚟緊咧就即係都話我哋其實喺 Melbourne 我哋都會講下 Burwood 呢個咁嘅呢個嘅 suburb 啦。咁其實嚟緊阿 Grant 都會繼續同我哋去講究竟 Burwood 呢個究竟有啲乜嘢嘅潛力，同埋點解大家會去要關注呢一個 suburb。OK， 我哋將時間交翻俾阿 Grant。Yep, Grant, we just have a highlight points to our audience and okay, over to you and please continue.
I really like the way you ladies put it. I think you summarized it beautifully.
Yeah, actually you understand.
No problem. But like any market, everybody, it's some properties perform stronger than other properties in any market. I think everyone understands that. So it's not just about taking any ticket in the raffle, right? You want to try to get the best possible opportunity. And if there's something unique about something, that's incredibly important and valuable when it comes to property. So when we're talking about this Burwood project that we're talking to you about today, the Burwood Brickworks, right? It's incredibly unique and particularly because in Melbourne's east, particularly this particular precinct, it is a very, very, not only is it a very sought after area, but I mentioned I'm going to talk about the rail loop, and then I want to talk more about the Burwood location. And when I show you maps and things, it'll be very obvious we're not talking about Sydney again, just in case anyone didn't pick that up before. But we've got this $50 billion suburban rail loop announced, and the first stage of funding has been announced. This is a Burwood X factor. And why is that? Well, what is it, first of all? It's a 90-kilometre rail loop. So it's an additional rail line. We're talking about hard rail. We're not talking about light rail. We're talking about a hard major rail line piece of infrastructure. And just announced in the budget, $2.2 billion is now being committed to start construction on stage 1. And that starts construction. There's a lot of pre-works going on, but the physical construction starts in 2022. Now, stage 1 includes new stations: Cheltenham, Clayton, Monash, Glen Waverley, Burwood and Box Hill. Now, I know Gary was talking about, I heard the word Box Hill several times earlier. So what we've got is there's going to be a new station here. We're talking about Burwood. This is incredibly significant, but this is a new train line. And stage 1 goes from Cheltenham, and I'll just show you on a map. I think I've got a map here. It goes from Cheltenham over here, all the way, it's in red. So if you're looking at the red lines on your screen, and a green circle we've marked out where Burwood is, and then the next train station along, you'll be one train station away from Box Hill, one train station away from Box Hill, and one train station away from Glen Waverley. You are literally like the meat in the most delicious sandwich, whether you've got the two buns, if you like, Box Hill and Glen Waverley, right in the heart of things. And then, of course, you've got Monash, Clayton, and over here to Cheltenham. So having that first stage 1 will be fantastic. And eventually, when you see the yellow, it will be extended in the next stage all the way around. This new train line will loop all the way around directly to the airport. So you could imagine, I want you to imagine, once this is all completed, suddenly Burwood becomes a whole lot more connected than it ever was before. And I know this because I catch a lot of planes. I'm in and out of Melbourne a lot. And if I'm in Box Hill or Burwood or one of these places, it's a bit of a trek getting to the airport. The idea of a train line, I can tell you, I love catching the train. You can read, you can just relax and switch off, and you don't get caught up going through the city. So this is a really, really key piece of infrastructure. Now, I want to talk about Burwood, for those of you who are not sure about Burwood. So here we are, we're in Melbourne's east. We've got areas like suburbs around us, like Box Hill, Camberwell, Mount Waverley, Glen Waverley, Vermont South, all of these sort of areas. So Burwood East, look at this. Median house price, just over $1 million, $1,026,000. The median apartment price is about $700,000. That's for an apartment, the median. Doesn't mean new, doesn't necessarily mean the best. It's just the median, $698,000. Now, more important, it's a more expensive apartment suburb than Box Hill. It's more expensive than many of the other suburbs, of course, except when you go, Glen Waverley's a little bit more expensive, Mount Waverley's a little more expensive. But my point is here we are in Burwood and Burwood East, and we're surrounded by $1 million suburbs. Many of them have median house prices that are 1.3, 1.1, 1.2, and some obviously high, even higher again. Box Hill 1.5, for example, and then Camberwell 2.2. So you're in good company. You're in a very, very good location, and it's an infill location. Okay, it's not greenfields. We talk about it, the fringes of the cities that keep expanding. You're in this established area where there's a limited amount of new land available. Now, what's the performance for units, for apartments in Burwood East? We have a look at this. 20-year growth rate, average growth, last 20 years has been 5.3% per annum. In the last 5 years, just under 40%, 38.7%. And then when we're looking at, there has been rental growth. It's not huge rental growth, but not bad rental growth there, with a yield of just under 5% at about 4.6%. Now, why is Burwood such a sought after location? And it's sought after not only by investors, but it's extremely sought after by owner occupiers. And one of the things we always look at Ironfish is owner-occupier appeal. We want something, if and when you have to sell in the future, if you want, we say don't sell, but if you sell, you want to make sure that owner-occupiers are going to be competing with you. Now, this is an aerial shot through Nearmap, and it was in September, but look at this. You can see there's virtually no major parcels of land available. I'm talking about not just little blocks, I'm talking about decent blocks where you can do an amazing master plan type of environment. And if you have a look at it, and it's circled there, that is the Burwood Brickworks site. It sticks out on a satellite map because it is so rare. And if we go and have a look at this, oops, sorry, I've just gone ahead on a few slides. Here's a nice shot where you can see it's an actual photograph looking back at the city. You can see Melbourne CBD in the background there, about 16 kilometres from this site. We've got Deakin University, less than 2 kilometres away, just up the road. You've got Box Hill, 4 kilometres away, just over further sort of northeast. And then what we've got, even Chadstone, for example, is about six kilometres away, you know, the largest shopping centre in Australia. That's over there as well. But look at the sheer size of this master plan community. So I'm just going to go back and show you again. Remember the satellite map, and then have a look at how big it is here. A leafy, Melbourne's east is known for its leafiness, and obviously it's better, it's cool and really hot weather, all those sorts of things. And it's surrounded by lots of expensive suburbs, but how rare is it to have a site where you've got this mix? You're going to have a new shopping centre, or new shopping centre's already built, townhouses, apartments, all of these sorts of things, incredible retail, entertainment. Now, who could deliver this? This is the other thing too. You can't just deal with a small developer who's going to build such a monumental project. This was a project that took Fraser's years to negotiate on, to try to get hold of and then get approved. It was a tremendous project, but it's master planned, and that's one of the unique things about this project that is extra special. Now, Fraser's property, you'll know there's Fraser's, they run a whole series of hotels all over Asia. You can see here, this Fraser's Suites right there in Hong Kong. If you Google them, you'll be able to find them. So they're in over 80 cities globally, but they're one of the oldest developers in Australia since 1924. They've built over 135,000 homes. It's not just apartments, houses, townhouses, and of course hotels as well. But they're around the world, and they're an award-winning developer. When they do anything, they want to make sure that it is extraordinary. They really care about their reputation and the end product. This image is a project in Sydney that they completed. It was a JV joint venture with Sekisui House, another incredibly large developer out of Japan. And it was judged the best tall building in the world only a few years ago. And they're an award winner. They've won lots of awards and all around Australia. I'm not going to go through all of these because they develop all over Australia, in Western Australia, in New South Wales, in Queensland. They develop in, obviously, in Victoria. So all around Australia, there's this incredible sense. And they always make sure their projects have something very unique and very high quality about them. Now, this project, this master plan, this 22 hectare master plan, I want to say that again, 22 hectares, this site. It is huge. I'm not sure if there's any 22 hectare sites in Hong Kong. I suspect not, but 22 hectares here is incredible. Now, it's anchored by this amazing 13,000 square metre dining and entertainment precinct as part of the Brickworks shopping centre. So you've got obviously a large format Woolworths, very upmarket sort of supermarket. There's obviously about 40, nearly 50 specialty stores. There's cinemas. So all of this is available within this self-contained neighbourhood. You don't even need to go out. And I think that was in one of the opening videos. There was a video where you would have seen a lot of this. I mean, this is one render that I really love. You can see everything is environmentally friendly. Everything is sustainable in this place, and it is beautiful. And not only that, but Frasers with this project are aiming to make the shopping centre in this development. They want it to be the first shopping centre globally, anywhere in the world, to achieve what's called the Living Building Challenge standards. It's one of the toughest sustainability awards that you can get anywhere around the world. And that'll be announced. I think it's supposed to be announced December, January. So later this month or possibly in the new year. And if you hear about that, I can tell you it'll really help this particular project, and I think it'll have a real impact. So let me give you a clear picture of the actual project and try to put it in one nice, clear, succinct slide. 22 hectares. You can see it all out there. There's lots of beautifully designed sort of public spaces and green spaces, lots of parks. And then what you have is you've really got sort of, I've just highlighted 4 things here. The first one is the shopping centre, which you can see at the top there, this large shopping centre. Then there is the urban plaza. That's like a civic place where there'll be people will meet and little restaurants and retail will spill out onto them. And it's also between some of the residential and the shopping centre there. And then it all flows down, all the way down to this village green, this incredibly large park, and it's going to have probably little concerts and all sorts of things happening there. But it's an incredible sort of environment. And then there's a lot of townhouses. Now, all these townhouses, relatively, they're not cheap. Between most of them between 1 million and 1.5, and then pretty much nearly sold out. I don't think there's much left in that at all. Now, when it comes to getting a property in here, the Ardent Collection, you can see this just on the top right there. The Ardent Collection is the name of this latest apartment release, and there's not really much available in this entire master plan. So what is it? Apart from being incredibly beautiful, have a look at that stunning render. My goodness, it's 94 apartments, so it's boutique. It's exclusive. It's got that. That's why we believe it's got that owner-occupier appeal. It's not a high-rise. What it is very much a low-rise. It's only 5 levels, and it's going to be completing. It'll start construction middle of next year, and it's going to complete in 2023. So again, think back to what might happen in the property market. People are predicting this is one of those markets where if they are right, then obviously people potentially can make money off the plan. Look at this. 1 bed, 1 car from 435,000, 2 bed, 1 bath, 1 car from 555,000, 2 bed, 2 bath, 1 car from 620,000. Really, really well priced. But what I thought I'd do is I'd just give you an idea of a couple of example apartment floor plans and pricings, because sometimes when you say these from amounts and things, you kind of go, yeah, but what does that really mean? And so here's a couple of examples. So I've got one on the left, Arden apartment 305, level 3. It's a 2 bed, 2 bath with 1 car, 78 square metres internally. Now for Melbourne, 78 square metres internally is a really, really good size, but it's not only that. Look at 16 square metres external, 94 square metres. And if you have a look at the square metre rate, it's only $8,500 a square metre. Now, this is one of the great things for this quality of this developer and this kind of a suburb and everything else. The median apartment price in Burwood East is just under $700,000, and yet here you can get a 2 bed, 2 bath with a car, brand new, very spacious, very good design. Look at that, separated bedrooms. You come in, you've got 2 bathrooms, a really nice. I'm going to show you some renders shortly about the project, including this feature dining table. The kitchens are really beautiful, and just the way that it all flows out, you've got a proper spacious living area. These aren't pokey apartments, and that's a 2 bed, 2 bath, 1 car. 667,000, fantastic value. And then, of course, here's another one, level 1, 64 square metres. So this is a 2 bed, 1 bath, 1 car. But again, look at it, separated bedrooms, really spacious living area. There's incredible, there's no wasted space in this. $555,000, $8,672 a square metre. And that's really one of those things. You've got to be careful. If you don't know the right questions to ask, You can easily, by speaking to this agent and that agent, everything, everyone's going to be trying to tell you that their project's amazing. But what you've got to do is you've got to be able to, how do you actually measure that? And you've got to be able to measure the quality too. And quality is not just what's in the brochure, it's what it's going to look like when it's finished. And this is one of the great things about Frasers. Having worked with them for more than 10 years, we have over 800 Ironfish clients who've invested with Frasers as well. And you know, it's and over 40 projects. So we've got a lot of experience with Frasers. And it's not only getting the right projects, it's making sure you're getting the right apartment for yourself too, and the one with the right potential. So this is the project, not high rise, boutique, 5 levels, really, really beautiful. And I'll just flick through. I want to show you a few renders because I know the guys might want to have a bit of a summary, and I think we're going to do a Q&A or something at the end, I believe. But have a look at this for some of the beautiful common areas. There's lots of really great breakout areas for this. This is one of the sort of the lobby areas. I mean, look at this. This is the private dining room and a lounge area. Really beautiful. But this is, Frasers always make things look like their renders. This isn't just a render and then you go and you see the finished product. I always say there's 2 risks when you buy off the plan. The first one is will the project actually get built, okay? Because quite often there's projects that are sold. Well, not quite often, but there are projects that are sold that may not eventually. And then you lose out on an opportunity. You still get your 10% deposit back because that's secured in a trust account in Australia, very secure by law. You can never lose your 10% deposit off the plan. But will it get built? Will they have that opportunity cost? And the second risk is really around quality. Is it actually really good? Because if you buy something really good off the plan, when it's finished and it's really good, well, it's logical that you're going to obviously do well. But Frasers, like I said, over 10 years we've been working with them, and they just do an amazing job. I mean, look at this. This is, again, one of these breakout sort of areas, common areas, beautiful. And only 94 apartments share these facilities, okay? This isn't a huge building. It's a fantastic commercial sized gym that everyone has access to. I know I would certainly be using this if I was downstairs there. And look at this, these vaulted ceilings and these lovely sort of again, these common areas. I mean, it's really an extension of your apartment. And that's one of the things to take advantage of that Australian lifestyle. You know, the weather and being able to that indoor outdoors type environment is very, very crucial. And this is the sort of handcrafted dining table that's built into the bench top and everything we talk about. Beautiful finishes, timeless, really elegant, and you know, obviously stone bench tops and shelving and all sorts of things. I mean, yeah, stunning finishes. And here's just a shot, obviously, of a living space. So, yeah, this project, incredibly unique. I want you to think about it. There aren't many genuine infill sites in around Melbourne. And I'm not talking about the greenfield suburbs or some more industrial suburbs that are converting. I'm talking about your blue chip, absolutely premier infill established suburbs. And in Melbourne's east, as I showed you on the aerial map, Burwood is one of those. But you add the new train station, and you add that one train stop away from Box Hill, one train stop away from Glen Waverley, being able to get to the airport. You add all of that on top of what this is. Once this is built, never again. And this is one of the last apartment stages in this amazing project. And I think people will do incredibly well here, particularly as I shared with you some of the data generally on the market. But as we said, not all properties perform the same. You want to get the right property. And it's not just getting something, you know, Frasers is fantastic. We're very careful here at Ironfish. As I mentioned, I'm our property and research director. So for any developer to work with us, we have to be incredibly confident of the product that they deliver and the service. And as I mentioned with Frasers, we've been working with them for 10 years now. We've done more than 40 projects together and more than 800, it's actually nearly 900 Ironfish customers. And so we're all about delivering value, but you can buy a property from Frasers, but if you've got Ironfish, our services and everything as well, and those services are for life, it's just a whole lot more. And I'm not sure if anyone mentioned earlier, but Ironfish is the exclusive agent outside of Frasers. Obviously, people can talk to Frasers directly, but Ironfish has an incredible and long-standing relationship to try to get all of our customers in, to get them the best opportunities as early as possible. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to share, ladies. I'm not sure what you're wanting to do now, or do you want to do a bit of a summary again? You did a great job last time.
Thank you, Grant。OK， 其實頭先啱啱個 Grant 同我哋就介紹咗 Burwood， 即係Burwood Brickworks 啦。咁啊，其實佢講咗幾個要點。咁當然啦，我哋又唔會重複一次。我哋講幾個 highlight 啦，咁同大家講下。咁首先咧就係即係呢一個嘅地點啦。咁啊，其實咧佢一個好特別首先佢附近嗰個 infrastructure 其實係即係係一個大係啊，
佢嗰個新嘅鐵路啦，咁就係完全係可以貫通到附近嘅大學啦。咁我覺得最好嘅就係可以去到機場啦。咁即係好方便大家去，可能之後控制時間啊，或者無論係即係可能 business trip 啊，或者去旅行啊，咁都可以好易就控制到。同埋你都知道，即係鐵路沿線嘅地方，雖然就話
都會升值啊。係啊，咁啊第二個咧，其實就係啱啱阿 Grant 亦都講咗啦。其實啱啱呢一個嘅suburb 咧，其實啱啱全部隔離圍繞住佢嗰啲樓咧，全部都係啲過百萬㗎樓，即係都係嗰啲貴嘢啊。但係啱啱咧，但係一個即係 million suburb 都 around the Burwood 啦。咁其實咁講咧，其實呢一個咧，其實即係大家都諗下。其實首先側邊嗰啲咧，全部都係呢啲超過100萬澳紙 high end 嗰啲啦。咁啊，但係呢一個嘅 project 其實雖則佢而家佢係即係感覺上我好似我住喺豪宅區隔離，但係我又唔需要俾豪宅嘅價錢㗎嘛。其實就都係非常之即係一個好難能可得嘅機會可以係啊。
一個賣點，我就係覺得，因為佢哋都頭先就話咗 Ironfish 同 Frasers 都合作咗10幾年啦。咁另外就係 Frasers 都係一個好有信譽嘅即係發展商啦。咁佢頭先都有講過，即係買樓最驚就係交唔到樓或者係啦。咁即係呢啲都唔需要擔心。
係啊，咁你 Frasers 可以同佢買樓啦。咁但係 Ironfish 其實就係一個即係一個 lifelong 嘅一個 service 啦。咁係啦，咁佢其實即係一個都係一個頭先我哋同阿 Gary 都講咗啦，其實即係有唔同嘅，即係 Ironfish 其實都有唔同嘅行業，即係佢哋嗰個服務板塊啊。咁啊，所以其實咧，即係揾一個即係信得過嘅公司啊，信得過嘅即係代理咧，去幫你，無論係即係管理物業啦，係啊，同埋嗰個即係資產配置啦。咁啊，其實應該係即係咁講係另一方面嘅一條龍服務咯。咁其實呢一個都係一個即係大家可以考慮呢一個嘅即係呢一個嘅項目啦。咁啊，即係即係一個唔係成日有嘅機會啦。咁同埋我講下啦，其實點解頭先我哋講話豪宅嘅地段，但係又不是豪宅嘅價錢咧？其實咁啊，呢個咧其實阿 Grant 同我哋講咗啦，其實呢一個即係Burwood Brickworks 咧，咁其實佢嗰個 collection 叫做 Arden 啦。咁啊，其實咧佢就即係有94個 apartments 啦。咁啊，其實佢見到佢嗰啲相咧，其實全部都低密路㗎，即係 5 level 即係5層嘅啫。咁啊，其實咧就而家當然啦，而家就起緊啦。咁啊，大概咧就喺即係2023年年中咧，其實就會起完啦。咁啊，當然啦，咁我講下價錢啦，咁啊最實際啦。咁其實咧就有1房或者2房可以揀啦。咁其實1房咧最低嘅入場費咧就係即係澳紙嘅43萬5。咁其實圍翻起港紙咧，當然1對6啦，對好計啲啦。咁大概都就係260幾萬，即係260幾萬港紙起。咁就算我要去到咧，即係比較大啲嘅單位啦，可能係即係2房2次1車位啦。咁其實佢就係即係澳紙嘅62萬。咁其實佢圍翻起港紙啦，咁啊就大概370幾萬，咁其實就即係諗下，即係370幾萬，其實就可以喺一個豪宅嘅地段或者一個比較即係 high end 嘅地段去住啦。咁所以其實即係大家都可以即係考慮下。咁同埋如果有啲咩問題，或者想知道多少少個 floor plan 啊，或者可能係有其他嘅即係好即係 specific requirements 啦，其實可以都去即係 comment 我哋啦，即係留言俾我哋啦，私信我哋 居外.asia 啦，或者可能係直接即係 contact 係啦，
攞到佢哋 contact。
係啦，直接了解。係啦，有 email 啦，有電話啦，咁同埋其實亦都有一個網址咧，大家可以撳入去啦。咁其實就會即係就會可以填翻你嘅 inquiry。咁啊，其實咧即係 Ironfish 其實佢都會好樂意咁去答翻你咯。係啦。
咁我哋又叫埋
Gary 同我哋係啦。
Hello Gary。
Hello，我仲喺度。
Actually, we just have a highlight points for what Grant just introduced, sharing us like how amazing the Burwood Brickworks. Yeah, it's a kind of like
is improving.
Yeah, he totally understands what we are talking about. Yeah. We should talk about this. Kind of the project itself is located, situated in the prime location, the high-end location, but with like very acceptable, very good price. Like from Australian dollars, like 400,000, 435,000 up to like 620,000 up Australian dollars. It's kind of like 2.6 million Hong Kong dollars to 3.7 Hong Kong dollars million Hong Kong dollars. So it's a really good price for us. Normally the Hong Kong property price is more like it's around like 10 million. 10 million.
Now you know why I said that you can buy 4, yeah?
Yeah, so that's why Gary the investment tips is like, okay, get the buy 4 properties in Australia is not that difficult, and with that 4 properties in Australia, then you can have the in the recurrent income, so you don't have to worry about that. It's very stable after even after you retired.
Do you know what's the easiest way to buy 4?
Why?
You buy one first. You're going to start with 1.
Okay, yeah. And start with Ironfish first. Yeah.
Well, you just need to get the right property too. It's very important. You want the first step to be a good one. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So for coming up, and we have some like question to ask Gary and Grant, and basically, is the project so Burwood Brickworks is freehold? Gary, please.
Gary?
Grant, please. Yeah, Grant, please.
Yeah. Grant or me? Grant?
You answer this one in Cantonese, mate. Just make sure everyone's clear.
Okay. 其實澳洲嘅房地產大部分都係freehold 嘅，好少 leasehold， 除非你又好似係Crown Land 啊，或者係Church 啊，佢或者有少少 restriction， 但係所有我哋去介紹嗰啲咧 at least 都係freehold 嘅。
明白，唔該 ，thank you, Gary. So next question will be we ask a question to Grant, and Grant, so what's the buying procedure? So how much deposit like our audience have to pay if they're interested in the Burwood Brickworks?
Yeah, so when you're buying a property in Australia off the plan, and same in Melbourne, it's a 10% deposit. Okay, that's the 10%, and that 10% deposit of the purchase price that goes into a trust account. And as I mentioned before, in Australia, we've got very, very strict laws of processes of how things, all right? So governments, no one can touch, all right? So basically, if you put the 10% into a trust account, it doesn't go to the developer, it goes to this specific bank account that's set up for basically both of you. And then it only gets released to the developer at settlement, okay, once the building's complete. So that's why we say it's protected. So 10% deposit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the next questions that we ask Gary. So we know that for like Ironfish provides property management services, but one of the main issue that our Hong Kong audience may ask is on how to do the mortgage. Can Australian banks support mortgage? Or do you guys have a network or channels can advise our Hong Kong audience like how to like apply the mortgage in Hong Kong or apply the mortgage in Australia? So can you share us some more information about that, Gary?
我以為香港人買屋全部都用 cash 嘅。
下一步先，第一步。
其實你呢個問題問得非常之好咯，因為澳洲嘅 banking 銀行嘅體制咧係好健全嘅。好似阿 Grant 正話所講咧，同埋嗰個法律嗰個 system 亦都係做得好安全嘅，好健全。咁咧就你睇個歷史嚟講係近10幾年咧，佢有一段時間啦，係比較瘋狂啲。我以為瘋狂咧就係太容易攞到錢啦，真係邊個嚟到咧，佢俾幾張紙你就可以攞到呢個 finance。咁其實呢個係唔係好健康㗎啦？大家都知道啦。所以咧佢有多層次嘅。Melbourne 咧另外咧 banking 咧唔係話大晒嘅咯，即係唔係我可以幾多錢你。佢有一個organisation 嘅 APRA 就係 Australia Prudential Regulation Authority 呢個咧就係睇住啲 banking， 所以點解咧就係如果你借咗錢俾一個人喺10年之內發生咗咩事咧，你要孭飛啊！所以難聽啲講句，你要負責任呢樣嘢。所以而家喺啱啱出咗一個新嘅例咧，我覺得呢個係好 exciting 嘅 news 咯，就係 APRA 放開隻手俾啲 banking， 係由出年3月開始，啲 bank 本身自己負擔呢個責任，呢個叫做 responsible lending。呢個係好 powerful 㗎 ，responsible lending and responsible borrow means 你自己去負責呢樣嘢，所以變咗銀行變咗係一個正式係商業操作嘅模式去做生意咯，唔係話驚咗 APRA 唔敢借俾你啦，明唔明？而家去睇你真係有屋有剩喺香港有剩，或者你有 income 嘅，佢會 assess 每一個人嘅狀況去批俾你。所以我嘅感覺就係將來呢個 first quarter of 2021或者係再繼續落去咧，個銀行嘅錢係會鬆動好多。所以直接答翻你個問題咧係 yes 係會借到俾你。問題就係佢睇你個人嘅狀況，借你嗰個我哋所謂嘅 LVR， 就係譬如你係比較你做醫生嘅。你 income 好高嘅，我可能借到85% 俾你，我可能借到80%，呢個係我自己嘅負責咯。譬如你係冇咁多income 嘅，比較 tight 啲嘅，咁佢會借70% 俾你。咁每一個銀行佢亦都有定佢自己嘅利率啦，你自己去揾下邊個係比較適合你嗰度。希望答到你呢個問題。
明白，答到。即係其實咧，我都其實我好多香港朋友其實到最後即係當然有一啲係 cash buyer 啦，咁但係其實有好多都係可能都係要申請做按揭啦。咁其實都當然啦，梗係要跟視乎翻自己做緊啲咩職業啦。其實佢自己個人嗰個資產啦，或者可能係自己個人嗰個嗰個評級啦，咁係先可以銀行先可以去 estimate 到究竟佢可以就可以借到係啦，批幾多成俾你。咁所以其實呢一個其實大家當然啦，大家有好多再 specific 嘅問題，其實亦都歡迎大家可以留言俾我哋啦，去私信我哋啦 ，join 到 Asia Hong Kong 啦，咁亦都可以去直接去聯絡翻 Ironfish 佢哋係啦。咁所以其實咧太感謝大家 Thank you Gary and thank you Grant today for sharing us so many great news, great informations, all those offered to our Hong Kong audience. And this is a really amazing live streaming for us today. Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
OK， 最後希望大家香港嘅朋友早日完成你嘅夢想，第時過嚟澳洲揾我飲茶。買4間。Four properties. OK. Thank you. Thank you, Grant. Thank you. 拜拜。再見，拜拜。拜拜。係啦。咁啊，其實咧，我哋都今日都都學咗好多嘢啦。其實我哋都收到新嘅資訊啦。例如話嗰個而家喺Victoria， 其實佢嗰個印花稅其實就減咗50% 啦。咁啊之後我哋都知道啊，原來嗰個如何
最近個市場環境係點樣啊？
係啦，有冇係因為大家都可能都好擔心咧，就係其實而家 COVID-19 其實香港受到影響，咁其實外國都受到影響。究竟其實 Melbourne 啊或者可能其他地方點？咁我今日都知道透過 Grant 啊，其實都同我哋講咗話其實都唔係，其實佢一個 strong market 可以未來呢一年。2021年咧，其實亦都會有都係會復甦啦，同埋亦都係會好似去翻以前咁樣啦。咁當然啦，另外就係
Gary 都分享咗好多經驗啊，或者一啲地區性嘅一啲資訊俾我哋啦。係啊，咁就嚟可能實同埋另一個位就係Gary 都同我哋分享，究竟。其實喺一個香港移民，其實到最後其實大家都係要努力工作，同埋要適應新嗰個環境啦。其實無論唔係 去定立目標啦，
係啊，同埋唔係逃避現實咯。係啊。咁所以其實今日都學咗好多嘢，其實大家都可以去諗下就係其實我哋到而家我哋去一個適應去一個新嘅環境啦。除咗我哋嘅資產配置，可能其實人生上面都好多方面都要去再審視一下咯。係啊，咁我哋今日嘅
直播差唔多啦，
咁啊，
我哋下個禮拜再同大家見面啦。
好啦，好，再見，好，拜拜。